clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and on today's episode of The Hypnotist, we're going to be looking at habits. Now, habits are defined as an unconscious behavior that it reaches a point where you do them without thinking about them. Now, some habits could be eating or drinking. Smoking, for example, could be defined as a habit because a lot of people smoke unconsciously. They just do it without even thinking. Some people might chew nails, fingernails, for example, or chew pens. So there's certain habits that we have. This particular hypnosis session is broad enough so that you get to bring whatever your habit is into the session, and then we change it with the alternative behavior that you want. In my experience, it's much easier to replace a habit with something new than it is to simply stop a habit. Because what you want to do is you want to redivert that neural pathway into something else to do rather than just stopping it in its tracks. So you can go cold turkey, but there is a possibility whatever need is being met by that particular habit is just going to spring up somewhere else. Whereas if you are deliberate in what you're changing the habit from and then to, it's much more likely to stick. And ideally, you want to choose a positive habit that's actually going to be useful for you. So some people choose, for example, to swap fizzy drinks or energy drinks for glasses of water, for example. Now, because they're very similar in behavior, it becomes quite easy to stick to that habit. For some people, for example, they might change smoking, for example, to eating raw vegetables because it's that hand-to-mouth behavior. Doesn't really matter what it is, but your creative part of your mind will suggest alternative behaviors that meet either a similar intention or are useful for you in some way. So the only preparation that you really need to do while that relaxing music is kind of playing before the hypnosis starts is just what habit you have currently that may be not that useful for you, and what kind of thing can you replace it with. And don't be surprised if you listen to this several times with a different habit each time, just because it is very satisfying, not just to break a habit, but to pick up a new one that's actually quite useful. So find somewhere comfortable, relax, and enjoy. And as you take a nice deep breath in, hold on to that breath for a second, and as you release that breath, just close your eyes. Close your eyes and completely relax. And as you breathe in, I want you to get a sense that you're breathing in positivity and relaxation. Hold on to that positivity and relaxation, and when you breathe out, feel that you're breathing out a sense of stress, anxiety, or any unnecessary tension. Sometimes it's useful as you imagine breathing in that warm feeling of relaxation to imagine that it has a colour, perhaps a warm colour, a bright colour. And as you imagine breathing in that warm colour of relaxation, imagine that it's seeking the very parts of you that may contain any tension, any stress, any anxiety. In the same way that white blood cells may seek out things that they consider infection, it's possible to imagine that the relaxation that you're breathing in is seeking out any parts of the body that contain tension, stress, or anxiety. As you breathe in that feeling of relaxation into your body, hold on to it for a moment, and as you breathe out, just feel that you're breathing out any tension, any stress, any anxiety. Sometimes it's useful to actually picture that stress, tension, or anxiety leaving your body almost as a dark colour, perhaps shadows or something grey. So you're breathing in a warm, bright colour of relaxation, holding on to it, allowing that relaxation to displace any tension in your body, so that when you breathe out, you get a real sense that you're breathing out any unnecessary tension that your body doesn't need anymore. As I'm talking, your conscious mind might pick up on different sounds around you, and it's completely fine, because in a strange and contradictory way, the more that your conscious mind is distracted, the better able I am to influence your unconscious, your subconscious mind. As you breathe in that feeling of relaxation, I want you to get a sense that it's honing in on the tiny muscles around your eyes. Become aware of any tension around your eyelids, your eyebrows, the muscles around your eyes. And as you breathe out, just feeling like you're letting go of that tension now. Then I want you to pay attention to the muscles around your forehead. The kind of muscles that create expressions like surprise or concern or confusion. Allow any tension in those muscles to completely relax now. Now pay attention to the muscles around your jaw. Just allow those muscles to relax, completely relax as you breathe in that relaxation and breathe out that tension. Then pay attention to the muscles in your neck and your shoulders. For many people, that's where they store their tension. Tension is just echoes of previously useful emotional states, but you don't need to hold on to that tension anymore. In fact, it can be useful to imagine that tension almost like crystals of ice. And as you breathe in that warm feeling of relaxation, get a sense that it's melting away that tension, those crystals of ice in your neck and your shoulders. Because you've seen what would happen to an ice cube on a warm, hot, sunny day. You know what an ice cube looks like when it melts away, and just get that sensation that any tension around your neck and your shoulders is just naturally melting away. Allow that relaxation to spread down your arms, all the way down to the very tips of your fingers. As you breathe in that relaxation, feel that even your internal organs, those internal muscles, are also relaxing. Muscles like your heart, your diaphragm. Just allow those muscles to just relax now. That's right. Feel that relaxation spreading right down into your gut. Allow the muscles in your gut to just relax. The gut is also known as the second brain, that place of gut intuition, that gut feel. It can be a source of anxiety, but it can also be a source of intuition, of excitement, of courage. And just allow any tension that represents anxiety to just completely melt away. Allow the relaxation to spread all the way down your legs, right down to the very tips of your toes. Your imagination has the ability to do many wonderful things. Your imagination can take you to different places, different times. And I want you to imagine that you're in a grand house or large hotel. Perhaps it's a large hotel overlooking a lake. And I want you to imagine that you're standing at the top of a staircase. You're looking down the stairs, and you get to decide what kind of stairs they are. Maybe they're a large straight staircase, maybe they're spiral in some way or curved and going round. But just know that this staircase takes you all the way down to some kind of foyer or reception area. You're at the top of this well-lit, safe, sturdy, and spacious staircase. It's private, there is no one else around. And very soon I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and with each descending number, you will take steps down the staircase proportionately to the numbers counting down. By the time I get to 0, you will be at the bottom of the staircase, standing in this large, elegant foyer. Simultaneously, as I count down from 10 to 1, with each descending number, you will feel 10%, 1/10 deeper and deeper relaxed with each and every descending number. That's right. And starting to count now. So 10, taking that first step down the staircase. Feeling 10%, 1/10 deeper relaxed. Noticing where you feel that increase in relaxation and reduction in tension. 9, another step or few steps down the staircase, feeling lighter, feeling floaty, feeling like you can effortlessly glide down the staircase. 8, brainwave shifting from that awakened alpha state to a more relaxed state, the kind of state where you naturally daydream. 7, another 10%, 1/10 deeper and deeper relaxed. And in fact, the further down the staircase you go, the more relaxed you feel. As we go to 6, another 10%, 1/10 deeper and deeper relaxed. And the deeper relaxed you go, the lighter you feel. It's almost like you're effortlessly floating and gliding down the staircase. As we get halfway down the staircase now to 5, halfway down the staircase, 4, feeling even more comfortably relaxed, just becoming aware that your body's feeling loose and light. That's right. 3, another 10% deeper and deeper relaxed. 2, seeing the ground beneath you, the foyer that you're about to go, you're reaching the end of the staircase, and 1 and 0. And you're now standing in the reception area, the foyer of this large hotel or large mansion perhaps. And you can enjoy just being incredibly relaxed, enjoying the decoration. Perhaps it's grand, maybe there might be a chandelier or a large door, but you're impressed and most importantly, feel comfortable in this place. As you look up at the staircase that you've come down, it occurs to you that you've traveled a considerable distance. You feel so much more relaxed and deeper now, but you're not quite all the way into a deep unconscious state, just feeling so much more relaxed than you were before. There's another step to take to really access your unconscious mind. And as you look around this reception area, in fact, you can see a door to a different room. And it occurs to you that this door might actually represent a portal into your unconscious mind. As you walk towards the door, you study the type of door that it is. Perhaps it's a large, grand door. Notice the color, the texture. But do notice that it's not only closed, but it's also locked. And as you look into your hands, just notice that there is a key in one of your hands. This key unlocks this doorway to your unconscious, subconscious mind. It also occurs to you that this door might also represent something else, that the key that unlocks this may also unlock something else, and in fact it does. It unlocks a particular resource. Not just one resource, but several resources that are very useful at changing unconscious habits. There are a few things that become useful resources to activate when changing unconscious habits. So at the point where you unlock this door, you will also unlock an increased level of resources in the following areas. You will increase your own awareness of your unconscious behaviors. Because to change and make a difference, you first have to be aware of what you're doing, because awareness is the stepping stone to making new choices. The second thing that the key will unlock as a resource is going to be the ability to make intelligent choices. Now, intelligent choices don't have to be made forever, because your brain will very quickly realize that when you've made certain choices for a few times, you will just gravitate to those choices on a consistent basis. Because you don't have to make a conscious choice to do the habits that you're doing at the moment. Most of them are completely on autopilot. Therefore, once a new habit replaces an old habit, then you no longer have to make those conscious choices anymore, because they'll be happening completely unconsciously. Another resource that we will unlock at the point where you hear the unlocking of the door to this subconscious mind, you'll be unlocking the resource of perspective. Perspective is really important when it comes to habits, because you can look at the temporary, short-term perspective of what harm is this one thing going to do. And in all reality, not much. Because actually, whether it's doing something like having a can of fizzy drink or a snack or something entirely different, that one thing in isolation may have the appearance of gratification, but there is no downside to that because it will have very little impact in that one behavior. But the thing with habits is that they tend to compound and they tend to result in more and more of that behavior over time. So you will have the perspective to be able to notice what the long-term consequence of that unconscious habit would be. You will have the resources to make new choices based on what you want in the long term. And the fourth resource is going to be patience. Habits aren't created overnight. Some psychologists have researched habits, and estimates are that it takes anything between 3 to 5 weeks for a habit to be established. But the key thing that makes it shorter or longer is really about the emotional intensity that we attach to the new behavior. Right now, you're holding a key in one of your hands, and I want you to, when I count down from 5 to 1, unlock this door, open the door, walk into this room that represents your unconscious mind. It will be an empty room. Only you will be in there. Starting to count 5, putting the key in the lock. 4, rotating that key. 3, hearing the click that you've unlocked the door, but simultaneously unlocked the resources of awareness, of perspective, of patience, but also the ability to make new choices. 2, you open the door. 1, you walk through the door, and 0, close the door behind you. You are now standing in a large, empty room. And in this room, there is 2 screens, maybe large screens, maybe cinema screens. There is a screen on the left and a screen on the right. And the screen on the left is going to show something very different to the screen on the right. And you are the director of whatever you see on these screens. And all I want you to do right now is on the screen on the left, I want you to see yourself in that screen doing the habit that you no longer want to continue doing, the habit responsible for a future that you do not want. Because the thing is, in your imagination, we can speed up time. You will see yourself doing that habit on screen, and it will have minimal impact on your health, your emotions, on your body, on anything, because it's just one-off. But you have the ability to utilize that new resource of perspective to see what the long-term consequences are of what seems like a harmless habit. In fact, I want you to do that now. I want you to imagine that nothing changes after listening to this audio, that you continue to do this habit in exactly the way that you've always done it. You notice what you would do perhaps tomorrow or the day after. See yourself doing that, seeing yourself perhaps even enjoying that thing, seeing yourself getting some type of value or need being met from that particular thing. And then what I want you to do is see what happens when we speed up time. I want you to see that those days turn into weeks. The weeks turn into months. Because if you were to look at a tree perhaps growing in a park or a garden, you wouldn't notice it growing and changing and moving throughout time. But if you were to take one picture per day and then play all those pictures in fast succession, you would see a tree rapidly moving and growing. Likewise, you've got the ability on this screen on the left that you're looking at right now to see the rapid consequences of this habit. What happens day after day, week after week? What are the consequences? And I want you to see the overall compounding consequences of this one habit, what it's doing to you physically, what it's doing to you emotionally, what it's doing in terms of the very costs, the consequences, the cause and effect relationship of this habit that currently has just been going on autopilot for however long it's been going. I want you to see that as the months turn into years, I want you to see yourself 2 years from now. Because this habit may seem fairly small, but I want you to ask yourself the question, is the key goal that you want possible if this one habit doesn't change? Because it may be that this habit gets in the way of so many other things that you want to do. But just notice that with this habit still there, it either makes anything that you want more challenging, or even worse, it makes it impossible to achieve. See yourself 2 years from now on that screen as a result of 2 years of doing this habit on a frequent basis. Look at your emotion, your facial expressions, your body language. Are you happy with the result that you have there as a result of 2 years of doing this habit on a consistent basis? And then I want you to fast forward that even more, 3, 4, then 5 years into the future. 5 years of having this habit, it was never broken. You might try a few times, but it just kept coming back. You kept doing that thing that's caused the very thing that you no longer want anymore. And then see that 5 years turn to 10 years. You've never been able to break this habit. 10 years of doing what seems like a harmless thing, but compounded day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. You can see the toll that it's taking on your body, the toll that it's taking on you emotionally, the frustrations, the feelings of self-sabotage, the feelings of guilt, the feelings of helplessness. You really get a sense that this habit is not doing you any favors, that it was harmless when it was a one-off, but now you can see it with the new perspective of time, what it's costing you on a consistent basis. Add another 10 years, then another 20 years. You're now seeing yourself 40 years in the future, 40 years, and you've never been able to break this habit. I want you to really pay attention to that version of you 40 years in the future. 40 years of having this habit. What has it cost you? What's it cost your health, your physical health,
What's it cost you in terms of relationships? Memories that you never experienced because this habit was never broken. What other things weren't you able to achieve because you had to keep going back to this area of your life? What's it cost you in other areas? Get a real sense that this has cost you. That it isn't an innocent thing, a harmless thing. That actually 40 years of this habit has taken its toll. And then I want you to go from seeing yourself on screen to then being that version of you 40 years from now in the screen. You're climbing into that body, feeling how your body feels like to be in that situation, feeling the emotion that you feel. And perhaps in this version of you, there's a sense of regret. There's a sense of not being in control. There's a real sense that where you are now is not of your choosing and you didn't want to be in that place. You get a real sense of frustration, a real sense of, if only I had have done something different. And I want you to think back over the last 40 years about how your life could have been so much different if you'd have only replaced this habit with something else. And if there's a genuine sense of frustration or regret, that's a good thing, because that's the emotional leverage, the juice that we need to make new choices. And I want you to now leave that screen, go back into that room and see yourself on screen. And then I want you to see everything happening backwards. Rewind everything back until you see yourself at your current age. Just know that that is not a destiny, but just a possible, potential future, with no guarantees that you will have that future, because in fact, you have the resources activated now to become aware of this habit on a day-to-day basis. In fact, on that screen on the left, I want you to see the very thing as if you're looking at it through your own eyes. What would be the trigger that prompts you to do that thing? Maybe it's a particular location, packaging perhaps, situation. Maybe you feel a certain way and that motivates you to do that thing. See that trigger now and then shrink that trigger all the way down to a tiny dot. And then I want you to look at the other screen, the screen on the right, that large screen. Because in this screen, you're going to see an alternative future, a more desirable future, a future that puts you in control, a future where you're able to utilize your awareness, to have the perspective of the long-term consequences of doing this habit on a regular basis, the ability to just make new choices about what to do in any situation, but also the ability to be patient, to keep doing those new choices until that new habit is established. See yourself on screen now. It's you at the present time, but see tomorrow if you are able to make alternative choices. Perhaps the trigger is the same. You see the same thing that would have caused you to do the old habit, but notice that you're more aware of it now. Notice that there's a different feeling. There's a feeling that actually it's not as desirable as it was before. The true freedom that anyone has is the freedom to make choices. That's the ultimate freedom. You may not be able to influence what life throws at you, but you can choose as to how you respond to what happens in your life. That ability to choose your response is a responsibility, and that responsibility is yours and yours alone. And as you see yourself on that screen in front of you, you're able to notice that because of your increased awareness, that perspective of the long-term consequences of that behavior enables you to start making subtly but crucially significant different choices. To begin with, those choices are just now and then, but then they become more consistent. In fact, you're replacing the old behavior with something that's way more beneficial and useful for you. it's not just that you've stopped doing the old thing. It's that you've stopped doing the old thing and, more importantly, replaced it with something new. But here's the thing. Notice your facial expressions. Notice that the new thing that you do gives you so much more enjoyment than the old thing. And that enjoyment is crucial. Because for a habit to be established, it has to be positively reinforced. It has to feel good when you do it. And that's why so many people can only stick to resolutions for a short period of time, because they're doing something that they don't truly enjoy and don't really want to do. So it's really crucial that as you see yourself on that screen in front of you, that not only are you doing a different choice, a different behavior, but you're really genuinely enjoying that thing. And it may not be that the enjoyment comes from the thing itself. Perhaps the enjoyment comes from the knowledge that you're creating a different future for yourself, a different destiny. Maybe the enjoyment comes from the satisfaction of being in control, of not being on autopilot anymore and being in the driver's seat. Perhaps the enjoyment comes from a real sense of significance, of certainty, of empowerment that you're the one in charge and you can make the choices. Be clear on what that replacement behavior is, what you see yourself actually doing, not the idea of doing it, but the actual motion of doing it. See yourself on that screen doing that thing in a different way. The triggers may be the same, and the triggers may be emotionally, or visually, or situational, certain people, situations, locations. But just notice that you have the awareness, the perspective, and the ability to make choices. And it's those choices that seem simple, innocuous choices, but those choices over time create completely different habits, and those habits create completely different futures that we're going to visit right now. I want you to see what a week looks like of this new behavior. Just a week, a few days, and actually not much has changed. Not much has changed physically, but things perhaps have changed emotionally. There is pleasure on just a sense of moving in the right direction, of being in the driver's seat, of being in control. But that week then turns into a month. See, a month of this new behavior, and you start to notice that there are already subtle changes. The month turns into maybe 3 months, then 6 months. See yourself 6 months. See yourself in situations where normally you would have done that old thing, but instead you're doing something new. All the old belief systems of, well, I just have to do that, is no longer true, because you're seeing yourself on that screen doing the alternative thing in the very same places and locations and situations and emotional feelings that you had before. You're just doing the new thing rather than the old thing. That gives you a blueprint, a behavior blueprint of a possible future. That then turns into a year. See yourself a year from now, where that old habit has been replaced with a new habit. And it is a habit at this point. In the first few weeks, it was just something that you had to think about. But notice that as the months went on, you no longer had to keep thinking about it. It was just something that you did because that's just what you do. An unconscious, automatic, autopilot habit. And then see yourself another year, so 2 years from now, 2 years of having that new behavior instead of the old behavior. And it's completely transformed you. You would have thought it's something small, but no. Actually, there is a really unique thing about habits, that good habits breed more good habits. It creates momentum. So maybe, yes, you have this different area of your life, but that may cause a ripple effect in lots of other areas of your life. Notice how you've changed, not just physically, but emotionally. How much more content you look, how much more in control you look, that you're moving in exactly the direction that you want to move in. And then see what you look like 5 years from now. 5 years of just, this is what you do, this is how you operate, this is what you do in all these kind of situations, the habit is so ingrained, people just accept that that's what you do and that's who you are. But notice how you've changed, how your body's changed, how other things have happened, good things, you've attracted other good things towards you as a result of what looks like discipline to other people, whereas you know it's not discipline at all. It's just a habit that's become ingrained, unconscious, automatic, that you do on a regular basis without even thinking about it. And then see yourself 10 years from now, 10 years of actually living this new habit, how it's transformed you, how other people perceive you, perhaps people even in your own family. Notice that they are impressed by something that you now take for granted because it's completely automatic. But notice the consequences, the rewards. 10 years of a good habit can create outstanding results, and you can see those results on screen right now. And then it's time to climb into that version of you, where you can experience the transformation yourself. Not just the physical transformation. It's almost like you're trying on new clothes, but you're trying on that future body of yours 10 years from now. But 10 years of maintaining a really useful, good habit for you. Notice that physically you've changed, but emotionally you feel different. And I want you to locate where you can feel that pride. Pride, not in a boastful way, but pride from knowing that choice that you made 10 years previously, and the patience that you've shown, that resilience to keep going and doing that thing, has completely transformed you physically, emotionally, and at every other level. It may have had an impact on relationships, friendships, new opportunities, may even have helped you in business or financial situations. Get a real sense of the accomplishment, the pride, the overall sense of confidence that you feel having lived with this new habit for 10 years. Just really embrace how good that feels. And then what I want you to do is to leave this screen and be back in that room, noticing that there's 2 screens there. And now what I want you to do is to notice that the screen on the left still has what you would have seen before as the original trigger. And that might be a particular thing or a context. And I want you to make that screen so big it fills the whole room. And it's the very stimulus, the trigger that prompted you to have that old habit. And all I want you to do is to see what you would see if that old trigger prompted you to do the very old behavior, that old habit. And then I want you to shrink it down to the size of a small coin. And then instead I want you to replace it with a big image, this time that you're in the image, seeing yourself doing the new behavior. So you're shrinking down what you're seeing through your own eyes as the thing that used to trigger the old habit, and replacing that with a big image that fills the room of you doing the new behavior. But you're seeing yourself in the movie as if you're someone else. And you get an overall sense of that's what you want to be doing. Because sometimes when you see yourself doing something, it makes it more desirable. For many people, when they think of holidays they've not been on yet, they see themselves in the holiday. Whereas holidays of the past, they see the experience through their own eyes. And we're going to utilize how your brain works to help you, empower you to make the old habit become a new habit. So make that big image, that big screen filling the room of the very thing that used to prompt you to want to do the old habit. And then when I make this noise, I want you to shrink it down and then replace it with a big image where you see yourself in the image, but make it a movie of you doing the very thing which is the new behavior. But you're doing it in a way which makes you certain that you're seeing yourself enjoying that new behavior because of all the benefits you know it will give you in the long term, because of the resource of perspective that we've unlocked. So we're going to do this 3 times. Make a big image where through your own eyes you're seeing the thing that used to trigger you to do the old behavior, and then you've now replaced it with a big image where you're in the image and you're doing the very thing which is the new behavior. And let's do that again. Big image where you're seeing it through your own eyes and now there's a big image and you're seeing yourself big, bright, colorful, where you're doing the very thing that you want to be doing as part of the replacement behavior. One final time, big image through your own eyes, seeing what you would see if you were about to do the old behavior and shrink it down and then replace it with the big image of you doing the very thing that you want to be doing as part of the new behavior. That new behavior that if you kept that up for 10 years, it becomes such a habit that it completely transforms your life. You get an overall sense that you have the power of choice, that you have the ability for perspective. And if you're not sure whether or not a habit is useful or not, just ask yourself the question, if I did this every day for 10 years, would it take me towards or away from the future that I truly desire? And if it's towards the future, then that's a habit to keep because it's useful. And if it takes you away from that, then that's a habit to replace with something else. You've unlocked the ability of awareness. You will now be 10 times more aware of not only the triggers, but the actual behavior that you're doing that you no longer want. You will have also unlocked perspective. You will be able to estimate and preempt what 10 years or more of doing this thing will take your life, whether that's a good or a bad thing, a useful or not useful thing. You have also unlocked the ability to make choices again. Too many people are living their lives on autopilot, and what takes autopilot back to manual control is simply making a choice. A conscious choice, and the conscious choice in the moment becomes unconscious habits in the future. And the final thing is that the resource that you've unlocked is patience. Don't expect perfection. Most of your habits that you have right now, some good, some not so good, have been acquired and fine-tuned and developed over months and years. So it's unrealistic to expect that because you make a choice once or twice that suddenly a new habit's established. What's really important is that you keep making that choice. Keep choosing the replacement behavior. Keep choosing to add friction and obstacles of the old thing and make it super easy to do the new thing. Add friction to the old behavior and make it effortless to do the new behavior. And that will mean that this new behavior does indeed become an unconscious habit. And this unconscious habit will take your future in an incredibly desirable place, emotionally, physically, and on every other level. It's now time to leave this room, but you're leaving this room feeling more resourceful than you entered. You also have a plan of what you're going to do less of and what you're going to do more of, because you now have the ability to see the long-term consequence of that old behavior and also the long-term consequences of the new habit. As you leave the room and you walk back out into this large reception foyer area, you feel lighter on your feet. You feel like something has shifted deep in your unconscious mind. You feel energetic, optimistic, and you're looking forward to your future because you now know that your future is of your creation, and you can create a destiny simply by changing an old habit and replacing it with a new habit. In a few moments' time, I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken full of resources, optimism, with an ability and a desire to add friction to the old habit and make it effortless to do the new habit. You will add positive emotional intensity to the new behavior because that will help establish the habit quicker. You will wake up full of energy, optimism, with a desire to make immediate progress. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.